already waxed my client's brows. Now I'm going to prep her skin for the tint application. I'm using Mina Brow Scrub to exfoliate any dead skin that may be on the surface, and I'm using 2 lip wands because this is better and more gentler than using the disposable spoolies, which can leave like micro scratches on the skin, and we don't want that. So I just want a gentle exfoliation, and this is also relaxing for the client. So now I'm just using a damp cotton round just with a little bit of water to remove the scrub from her skin. And you can't see it on the camera, but it's very important to get the little scrubbies off of the skin, so just take your time with this. The next step that I do in skin prep is gonna sound a little crazy, but I promise you it makes a world of difference. I'm dehydrating her skin with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. This is going to remove any excess oil that will make a barrier between her skin and the tint, and we don't want any barriers because we really want a good stain. So before I do this, I always just let my clients know what I'm doing so they're not alarmed by the smell. Now this step is optional, but I like to do it because I like a very precise tint application. I'm just outlining her eyebrows. This is going to allow me to basically color inside of the lines. Once again, this step is not necessary, but I'm someone who likes really clean and precise lines, and I find that this makes a big difference. Outlining the brows before doing the tint is also helpful if your client maybe has one sparse brow, or if the tail or a certain area of her eyebrow is sparse. It's gonna allow you to make that shape nice and even before you go in with the tint, if that makes sense. Once I've completed the outline, I like to show my client the shape before I start with the tint, and then once they approve it, I move forward. For the sake of time, I tint both brows simultaneously. So I don't wait until one is completely finished before I start the other. So with that being said, I have 2 timers. When I start on the first brow, I start the first timer. Then when I get to the second brow, I start the second timer. I do that so that each brow has the same total amount of processing time. If you do it any other way, you're gonna always end up with one brow darker than the other, just because processing time is going to be off otherwise. So when I'm starting, I start at the tail of the brow and work my way toward the front. I generally do 2 layers of tint on each brow. As I'm making my way toward the front of the brow, I'm applying the tint in a stamping motion going all the way up to the top of the brow, and then I stop about 1/4 of the way to the front of the brow. That way, when I go back on the second pass, we'll have a nice ombre in the front. Before I begin my second layer, I like to take the micro brush and blend the front of the brow so that there are no harsh lines, because when I'm done, it's going to be a nice fade in the front. You do not want the front of the brow to be the same darkness as the tail of the brow. It's very important that you clean the brows as you go. I'm just using a damp point Q-tip that is moistened with some micellar water. It's very important not to get that on the brow. We're just cleaning up. So now that I've cleaned it up, I'm going to take the micro brush and brush the hairs down so that I can get a good tint on the top of the brow in a nice clean line. And this is still the first layer, so I haven't technically started my second layer yet. So I'm gonna stop right before I get to the front of the brow, back with the micro brush, and brush everything back up, because I want to make sure all of the skin is tinted. I don't want to leave anything untouched, and blend those edges because I want to have a nice gradient in the front of the brow. Now I'm going in for the second pass, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did, starting at the tail of the brow and working my way toward the front. Now that I'm at the front of the brow, I'm gonna wipe off the excess product and then stamp the bottom line. This part is very important to get the nice fade. If you have too much product on your brush, it's not gonna be a nice fade. It's gonna be too blocky. So I just bring it up about 1/4 of the way, and then I'm gonna go with a micro brush and blend that upward. That is going to guarantee a nice, beautiful fade in the front. It's okay if you brush the product a little bit over the line. You want to make sure that you're brushing it all the way through, and then you're going to go back and clean that line to sharpen it up. This is going to look so beautiful. You can already see the nice gradient going across the brow. Another trick that I do, if you saw just now, if I need a little bit more product, then I'll take it from the middle of the brow and then bring it forward. Look at that beautiful gradient. So I had a little bit more product in the front than I wanted, so I'm just taking the dry end of the Q-tip and just blotting. Then I'm gonna flip that Q-tip over on the damp side that's damp with micellar water, and then go around the brow to clean it, to keep that shape nice and neat. At this point, I start my second timer and repeat the same process on this brow. Now this is the most important part, the blend. So I'm just gently blending that all the way to the top of the brow. And I need a little more, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna dip the brush in the middle of the brow and then blend it up. And that just gives you the perfect amount when you need just a little bit more tint. If you go back in with the brush, it's gonna be too much. When I'm removing the tint, I put less than a drop of regular water, not micellar water, and just gently brush that tint off. I find if the cotton pad is dry, it doesn't come off evenly. And then if it's too moist, you take off too much. So like literally just a drop of water. I always like to give the brows a fluff with the brush so I could really see, how the tint took, if it's even, if there's any areas that I need to touch up. I'm a perfectionist, and so I'm just gonna touch up that tail just a little bit, but I let her see it first, to see if she was okay with that. So now that the other brow is ready, I'm going to wipe off the tint, and it looks pretty good. I fluffed it. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe it off the other side. Now that the tinting process is complete and she has approved it, I'm going in with my brow styling gel. Let me tell you, this is the GOAT. And I'm not just saying that because it's my product. It really is the best that I have tried on the market. It is waterproof, it's fast drying, and it's a firm hold. And a little bit goes a very long way. So literally one dip in the bottle is enough for both brows. I like to show my clients their brows before I go in with the finishing touches because, it's gonna look even better. It looks great now, but those finishing touches is just like chef's kiss, and a lot of people can't recreate that. So I like to show people like this is what it's gonna look like in the morning when you wake up. So now I'm going in with the highlight, aka concealer. Different people do this step different ways. I personally like to highlight the bottom and the top of the brow, and I like to apply it first and then go through with a blending brush and blend it because I'm a makeup artist first and foremost. Some people blend it as they apply it, but this is just how I like to do it. when doing this step, less of the product is more. And I like to use a shade that is between 1 and 2 shades lighter than the person so that it gives a nice highlight that still looks natural.